What if Nina's biggest mistake is not betraying Willow, but underestimating how dangerous Willow has become? I think that is the question sitting right at the center of this whole General Hospital situation. And honestly, I feel like it could turn into one of the darkest, most emotionally twisted Nina and Willow stories we have seen in a long time. From my perspective, this is not just about Drew being trapped or Nina trying to survive another secret or Willow losing control for one dramatic moment. It seems to me like this could be about a mother and daughter reaching a point where love, fear, guilt, and rage all crash into each other at the worst possible time. And I have to say it right away. I think Nina may be walking straight into a mistake she cannot take back. In my opinion, the current situation feels like a pressure cooker. Nina may believe she still has some control. She may think she can manage Drew, protect Willow, and somehow keep the worst parts of this nightmare buried. But I feel like Nina's biggest weakness has always been the same thing. She tries to fix one emotional disaster by creating another secret. And in this case, if she is involved in keeping Drew weak, silent, or dependent, I think she may be playing with a level of danger she does not fully understand. The most disturbing part to me is Willow. I feel like Willow is no longer just scared or desperate. She seems like someone who could be emotionally unraveling while still telling herself she is doing what has to be done. I could be wrong, but I think Willow may be at the stage where betrayal does not even need to be real anymore. It only needs to feel real. And if Willow comes home and sees something she does not expect, that feeling could be enough to push her over the edge. One possibility I keep coming back to is this. Willow could return home and find Drew trying to get out of bed. Maybe Nina has failed to inject him with whatever was supposed to keep him paralyzed or helpless. Maybe Nina hesitated. Maybe she got distracted. Maybe she thought Drew would not recover that quickly. In my opinion, that would be terrifying for Nina because it would mean the situation is slipping away from her faster than she expected. I feel like Nina may not even fully understand how close Drew is to regaining enough strength to become a threat. And from my perspective, Drew is not someone who would forget what happened to him. If he realizes that Nina and Willow have been involved in keeping him trapped or silenced, I think he could become extremely dangerous in his own way. Not physically at first, maybe, but psychologically. He could use what he knows. He could bargain. He could manipulate. He could make Nina believe that the only way forward is to cooperate with him. And that brings me to the second possibility, which I actually find even more interesting. What if Nina has made a secret arrangement with Drew? I think this theory has a lot of dramatic power. Maybe Nina only pretends to inject Drew with the paralyzing drug. Maybe in reality, she is secretly helping him recover. But I do not think Nina would do that out of pure mercy. In my opinion, Nina would do it because she needs something from him. She needs his silence. She needs him not to expose what she and Willow may have done. She may believe that if she gives Drew a path back to life, Drew might give her and Willow a path out of prison, scandal, or total destruction. It seems to me like Drew would accept that kind of deal because survival comes first. I feel like Drew could look Nina in the eye and promise whatever she needs to hear, especially if he knows that playing along gives him time to recover. But I also think Nina would be foolish to trust him completely. I could be wrong, but from my perspective, Drew might not see this as forgiveness. He might see it as strategy. And that is where Willow's timing could destroy everything. Imagine Willow walking in right at the moment Nina and Drew are discussing this secret arrangement. Maybe she hears enough to misunderstand. Maybe she hears exactly enough to understand. Either way, I think Willow could feel like Nina has betrayed her. Not just as an ally, but as a mother. In Willow's mind, Nina helping Drew could feel like Nina choosing Drew's life over Willow's safety. And I think that would hit Willow in the most explosive way possible. I feel like Willow could see Nina's deal with Drew as proof that Nina cannot be trusted. She may think Nina is trying to protect herself. She may think Nina is preparing to sacrifice Willow. She may even believe Nina has been lying from the beginning. In my opinion, Willow's rage would not come from one moment alone. It would come from months or years of complicated resentment, grief, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. This is where the story could take a truly shocking turn. I can picture Willow reaching into her bag and pulling out a syringe. And I do not think this would be another fake dose or another temporary measure or another attempt to scare someone. I feel like this could be the moment when Willow brings out something far more dangerous. Maybe a real poison. Maybe something she prepared as a last resort. Maybe something she told herself she would never use unless everything fell apart. And in that moment, everything has fallen apart. In my opinion, Willow attacking Nina would be devastating because it would not just be violence, it would be emotional tragedy. Nina may be looking at her daughter, trying to explain, trying to calm her down, trying to say that she did this for both of them. But Willow may be too far gone to hear it. I think Willow could stab Nina with the syringe before Nina even has time to process what is happening. And if Nina collapses, I think the whole tone of the story changes instantly. I feel like Willow would panic right away, but not necessarily with regret, at least not at first. From my perspective, Willow might be so overwhelmed that her mind jumps immediately to the next problem, Drew. Because if Drew is recovering, if Drew witnessed Nina being injected, if Drew knows too much, then Willow could decide that he has to be stopped too. This is where I think the speculation becomes really dark. Willow may not stop with Nina. She could turn on Drew as well, especially if he is weak, trapped, and unable to defend himself. I do not think Willow would necessarily plan it coldly. I feel like it could happen in a spiral. One terrible act leads to another. One panic decision creates an even worse decision. And suddenly, Willow is standing in the middle of a room with Nina dying or unconscious, Drew possibly poisoned too, and no way to undo what she has done. Then comes Sidwell. I think Willow calling Sidwell would make sense if she is completely panicked and looking for someone ruthless enough to clean up the mess. In my opinion, Sidwell is the kind of person who would not react like a normal human being. He would not freeze. He would not cry. He would not ask the right moral questions. He would assess the situation like a problem that needs to be erased. And I feel like that makes him terrifying. If Sidwell arrives and sees Nina and Drew on the floor, I could imagine him immediately pushing Willow to stay quiet, stop talking, and let him handle it. But here is the part that really disturbs me. I think Sidwell might not even check carefully to see whether Nina or Drew are still alive. From my perspective, he may not care. If they are threats, then to him, alive or dead might not matter much. That is what makes the idea of him burying them so chilling. I know this is a controversial opinion, but I actually think Willow becoming more dangerous than Nina could be one of the boldest directions for this story. I feel like some viewers may still see Willow as someone who needs saving, but in my opinion, there comes a point where trauma does not erase responsibility. I could be wrong, but I think Willow's pain could be turning into something much more frightening. And if she attacks Nina, then I do not think we can look at her the same way again. At the same time, I also think Nina is not innocent in this emotional disaster. From my perspective, Nina's choices may have created the perfect conditions for Willow to explode. Nina may love Willow, but love without honesty can become control. And I feel like Nina may keep telling herself that she is protecting her daughter when she may actually be trapping both of them deeper and deeper. So where does this leave us? I think there are several possible outcomes. Nina could survive, but wake up knowing her own daughter tried to destroy her. Drew could survive and use everything against both women. Sidwell could hide the bodies, only for one of them to still be alive. Or Willow could be pulled so far into Sidwell's world that there may be no easy way back. But the most haunting possibility, in my opinion, is this. Willow may believe Nina betrayed her, while Nina may believe she was saving Willow until the very last second. And that is the kind of mother-daughter tragedy that General Hospital can stretch into something painful, messy, and unforgettable. I feel like this story could either make Willow a victim of her own unraveling or turn her into someone far more dangerous than anyone expected. I could be wrong, but I think Nina's mistake may not be trusting Drew. It may not even be lying to Willow. I think Nina's real mistake may be assuming that Willow still has a line she will not cross. But what do you think? Do you think Willow could really attack Nina if she feels betrayed? Could Drew betray Nina after recovering? And is Sidwell the kind of man who would bury two people without caring whether they are still breathing? Share your thoughts in the comments because I feel like this storyline could go in a very disturbing direction.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.